My fiancé told me his best friend was like a sister to him, but then I found out they smashed multiple times. Now I feel like I'm being gaslit into thinking that I'm jealous and manipulative for wanting to keep them apart. Posted by u/Throra62946294. I, 26F, have been with my fiancé, Joe, 28M, for a couple of years now. We have a great relationship, he's funny and talented, and we have a lot of fun together, but there's always been one big issue: Natalie, 27F. Joe and Nat are really close friends. It borders on unhealthy codependency for sure. When we met, they were living together, but she was out of the country, so I didn't meet her until we'd been together for a couple of months. They also work together, artists/musicians. When we started dating, Joe gave me a disclaimer about them and their close relationship, but I didn't really know what I was getting into. Once I met her, I understood it. She's the prettiest person I've ever seen in my life. I heard a lot about her, but no one told me she looked like a freaking supermodel. It was jarring too, because Joe is just average. They started writing music together again and performing, which meant a lot of time alone. I was also under the impression that their band involved multiple people, but it's just the two of them. Natalie always invited me to practices and whatnot, but, to be honest, being around them made me feel like a third wheel. Then I saw them perform, and for some reason, they decided to cover this song that felt like a slap in the face to me, especially given the context of the movie. It's not even their genre. I was extra upset because there's that line, "You can always come in my back door," and we've had issues because I don't like butt stuff. She even bent over and gave a little wink, which made me so mad. Joe just laughed it off and said the song was funny and gets a good crowd response. And they're affectionate. I mean, they're not kissing, but they're always close. Anyway, she ended up traveling a lot for a long period of time for a good career opportunity. I had to talk Joe out of joining her, and things got a lot better with us. We even got engaged, and it was great. Then, for Christmas, we went to his home country so I could meet his family, and things went sideways as hell. First off, Nat was in every family photo, going back years. Then his mom was asking about Nat and later said she'd be out to visit the next week. Joe had a bit too much to drink at this point and got emotional about that, saying he wished he would have known because he would have changed our plans. I pulled him aside and told him I wasn't comfortable with how intertwined she was with his family, especially if we were going to get married. I asked if something could be done about that, and he laughed in my face and told me I could be the one to bring that up with his mom. So I did. His mom looked at me like I'd slapped her, and then the whole family got upset. Joe got really mad at me, and we left. Apparently, she was a foreign exchange student or something, and they were immediately best friends. They were weird kids and didn't have other friends before each other. Every year they alternated staying with their families, between Ireland and Germany. I never knew about this, but there were things, like, we were watching a movie once, and a character was speaking German, and Joe was able to translate. When I asked him, "WTF, you speak German?" he gave me a weird look and was like, "Yeah, that's where Nat is from." Then, when they were teenagers and the two were in Ireland, Nat's family was killed back in her country, so she stayed there with his family until they moved out together. And they've basically been side by side since for 15 plus years. They lived together and went to school together, and then lived together and worked together, since they were like 12. Apparently, there was one school year their parents decided not to put them together, and they both reacted so hostilely and started acting out with crime and substances that their parents gave in. I don't know why I didn't know this and started to wonder what else. I asked if they'd slept together, and yes, they sure did. About 6 years ago for like a year. Then, one night, Nat kissed a guy and Joe beat the crap out of him. They got into a fight, decided sex was complicating things, and then just stopped. But they also hooked up a few times since. I freaked out. After all the "she's like my sister" BS. Joe insisted it didn't mean anything, but WTF. He kept saying it was purely physical and there were no feelings. But if there weren't feelings, how did things get complicated then? Well, regardless, we managed to talk it out but didn't go back to his parents. He argued that they were barely even friends anymore since he hasn't seen her in so long, and I did such a good job tearing them apart. I told him he asked me to marry him and should act like it. We fought for like 3 days until he got sick of it. Last week, he got a call from her. I heard him get upset and argue, then he started to leave. I asked him WTF, and he just said Natalie was in trouble and he needed to go to her, and left. Just hopped on a plane and left, just like that. If I hadn't asked, he probably wouldn't have even said a word to me. So naturally, I was pissed. I started drinking and sent some angry messages. I basically told him that if he was going to leave like that and run to her, he made it clear he was choosing her over me, and he shouldn't bother coming home. His response was just okay and that he would come back soon to get his stuff, which really pissed me off. Yesterday, I talked to our mutual friend Chloe, who told me that Natalie was in a bad situation and had called Joe from the hospital. I felt kind of bad then and wondered why Joe didn't tell me that detail, so I called him. It wasn't a good conversation. I told him I understood why he left, but since she's okay now, he should come home. He disagreed and completely flipped out on me. He said that if I hadn't kept them apart and put distance between them, she might have opened up to him about the stuff she was dealing with, and he could have helped. He called me manipulative and jealous. I do feel bad, but I still don't think I did anything that bad. Chloe told me she'd be surprised if Joe wants to work things out. I love him, but this situation is so weird. I just want some advice. Is our relationship salvageable? Is what I did really that bad? Should we even bother, or should I just let him and Natalie do their weird not a real couple BS? Up in the comments. Just to clarify some things since I was a bit emotional when I first made the post. Joe and Natalie lived together this whole time up until a year ago when Joe and I got an apartment together, and it's been just the two of us living here. Natalie was upset at first but ultimately supported our relationship. She came over kind of frequently until I got weird about her being around so much, and then she took a step back. In August, she got the job opportunity, and Joe was originally supposed to go with her since they're a team, because of course they are. I didn't really think it was necessary. Joe said I could travel with them too, but I managed to talk him into staying back and trying to pursue some things on his own without being so attached to her. He got a real job but never seemed too happy with it. I think he just missed her a lot. We had this weird issue come up shortly before we got engaged in November. Natalie was back in town, and they met up privately. I'm not sure what happened, but Joe was upset afterward and mad at her, calling her selfish and whatnot. He had already asked my family for permission to propose to me. So when I talked to my sister, after we got engaged, she said she thought maybe Joe told Natalie he was going to propose and she tried to talk him out of it. Now, at this point, I think Joe maybe gave her an ultimatum, and her response was that he should marry me. I think it broke his heart. I knew they were friends for a very long time, and I knew she was close with his family. I just never knew the extent of this. He took off on a plane the other day because she was violently attacked by one of her colleagues. Joe felt responsible because he was originally supposed to be with the group. I think that's why he took off the way he did. He still hasn't told me what exactly happened to her, I just heard it from other friends. Maybe he was trying to respect her privacy, I don't know, but telling me something would have been nice instead of waiting for me to ask for explanations and make demands. I really appreciate everyone's advice. I'm going to have a talk with him and tell him he needs to figure out his relationship with her, but I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm so sick of being a silver medal. Update 1 day later. Hi everyone, it's me, the one from yesterday's post about my now ex-fiancé. I just want to start by saying that I really appreciate everyone's input and suggestions. It helped me so much and gave me that push to finally address what I already knew needed to be done. A lot of people ask for updates, and a lot has happened in the last 24 hours, but since the original post is locked, I hope it's okay to post here. I've updated a few people through private messages and was told how to go about posting an update, so thank you, everyone. First off, I was angry and emotional yesterday, so I reached out to Sam, who used to date Natalie. I figured if anyone could relate to exactly what I was dealing with, it would be him. So we met up for some drinks. I'm not looking for a rebound or anything, I just wanted someone who really understands, and holy crap. Apparently, he asked way more questions, and Natalie was way more open with him than Joe was with me. It filled in some blanks but also made things more confusing. Sam read the whole post and comments, and then we started talking. The first thing he clarified was the timeline of when they were sleeping together. So, according to Sam, they were hooking up secretly for that year, and from what Natalie told Sam, God, this is exhausting, it started as a way to relieve tension and boredom. The first time happened during a fight, which is so on-brand for them that if I weren't so angry, I'd laugh at it. They agreed to keep emotions out of it and just have fun. Apparently, Natalie said the sex was incredible because they were already so close, which is why they didn't just write it off as a one-time mistake. Then, the reason the fight that ended things happened was that Natalie was going to bring this other guy as her date to the party. She made a joke like, unless you want to finally make this official lol, and Joe's response was something like, no, I can't ruin our friendship like that, paraphrasing. So Natalie brought that guy, and then Joe got drunk and tried to fight him, so, yeah. I don't know why Joe chose to leave out the details that he did. To be honest, it probably would have made me feel a little more comfortable. So he left out those details, but Natalie told Sam. She also admitted to Sam when they broke up that no one will ever mean more to her than Joe. I freaking applaud Sam for not blowing that up and letting everyone know. I'm not that nice. You guys will be proud of me. After a few drinks with Sam, I took the advice that a lot of people gave me. But instead of just sending my last post to Joe, I sent it to our entire group chat that all of our friends are in, including Joe and Natalie. And then I waited. Most people didn't respond in the chat, but I started getting a lot of private texts from friends. After a little while, Natalie responded, and I'll just copy her response here. Emma, I was going to address this privately, but since you chose this approach, I will follow suit. Joe is just average. Is this how you talk about someone you're supposed to love? Especially when he is not just average? I had to talk Joe out of joining her. That decision caused him to miss a great opportunity just to appease you and your concerns. I even invited you to come with us on the tour. You also mentioned him getting a real job and were dismissive of his talent. You've never supported him. You came to one of our performances ever, hated a song, and we stopped playing it, even though you never came to another show. I'm sorry you didn't know the details of our friendship. I've tried to include you, befriend you, and build a relationship with you, but your jealousy blocked any progress. Maybe we could have talked and worked through things to make you feel more comfortable. You couldn't even stand hearing him talk about me. You also implied that I did something drastic to get his attention and make him come out here, which is cruel given the circumstances. I wish I had been around more so I could have realized sooner that he deserves so much better than you. I was shocked when I read her response and wondered why she didn't address the important stuff, like being in love or the fact that they've had sex. Anyway, chaos broke out in the group chat after that. I didn't respond, I just sat back and watched everything blow up. Joe called me a little while later, swearing he was alone. He was crying and apologizing but not begging to take me back. He confirmed what I suspected, and what everyone else was saying. He apologized for hurting me and admitted he's totally in love with her and has been forever. They were even each other's first kiss. I asked him why he was with me if that was the case, and he said he didn't realize the extent of her feelings for him. He thought it was just because the sex was good, and he didn't want to admit he was madly in love with her. Basically, he was afraid that if they tried a relationship and it didn't work, their friendship would be ruined. Their friendship was so important to him that he would rather be quietly in love with her forever than risk losing it. And that's where I came in, I guess. He admitted he was in denial about his feelings for her and hoped it would be easier to have her as just a friend if he focused on a different relationship. I cried, yelled, and called him every name I could think of. I'm still shaking. He admitted it was a horrible thing to do to me and that he never wanted to hurt me. His insecurity caused this entire mess. Obviously, things are completely over between us. From what it sounds like, Joe now realizes the full extent of her feelings for him, which makes me think she finally fessed up after seeing that post. Good for them, I guess. I hate them both, and I hope they drive each other insane. I've thrown out most of his stuff, and instead of giving the ring back, I'm going to sell it and do something fun with the money. Edit. A lot of people are calling them cheaters, but I'd like to clarify that I'm 99% sure neither of them cheated on anyone, aside from their ongoing emotional affair. Some of my wording might be confusing, and I apologize for that. I've calmed down a bit, but I'm pretty worried about Natalie, to be honest. I feel like they're going to end up together, and he's going to be all crazy and controlling, and things are going to get really messy. The emotions between these two are way too dramatic. She's so love-struck and blinded by his admission of his feelings that she's going to defend him to the end, poor girl. Relevant comments. Commenter. Did the other friends say anything? Did any of them ever acknowledge how crappy the two of them were being throughout all of this? Ops response. Yes, there were a lot of gotcha texts flying around and quite a bit of name-calling. Joe stayed out of it completely, but Natalie went on a rampage defending herself and Joe. No one had any idea, and they were actually called out for it. I feel so validated, to be honest. Natalie has always been really nice too, or at least it seemed like it, but then she just freaked out, and now everyone gets to see it. Commenter 2. Joe is the absolute worst here, and I feel really sorry for Op, but I also feel kind of bad for Natalie. She liked Joe, told him, and he rejected her after they had essentially been in a relationship. That would suck. It sounds like she did try to be a supportive friend to their relationship, and Joe was the one screwing it all up, but she is being made out to be the homewrecker. It's not on her to tell Joe's new girlfriend about their past, that's on Joe. She tried, and failed, to move on, and it seems like she kept her distance. None of the issues Op has, apart from the song, which was a bad judgment call, have anything to do with things Natalie is doing now. Her main crime is being hot, which isn't fair. Yes, they have a complicated past and clearly have feelings for each other, but Natalie tried to act on that before there was another relationship involved and got rejected. Joe is a grade A douche, and I think both girls deserve better. Op's response. As angry as I am at everything right now, I do kind of agree with this. Natalie is usually a very nice person, and, to be honest, I feel pretty bad for doing this while she's already dealing with some stuff. I can't really blame her for losing her cool. After hearing more of the story and knowing Joe rejected her years ago, then kept ruining her relationships and whatnot, it's really rough. The tide has even shifted in the group chat to anger at Joe, but Natalie keeps defending him. She's blinded by his admission that he loves her and will probably fight everyone for him. They both have issues, and I bet once they're finally together, he's going to be super controlling, and she's a free spirit. It's gonna be a mess. Mini update 1 month later. Op made a post in r/true off my chest that is titled, "Hope you're happy after ruining my life." All that for nothing. My life is in shambles, and they're going off to elope. I didn't even do anything wrong. I was devastated after my fiancé left, missed some work, and then lost my job. My friends have abandoned me, I'm about to move back home, and I moved out here for nothing. I moved out here so he could use me to realize how in love with her he is. I heard they're running away to elope. I hope they die. Second update 10 months later. Hi everyone, I'm sure some of you remember my original post. I don't know if anyone cares, but with the new year, I've been thinking about 2023 and everything, so I thought I'd post an update. To be honest, I kind of spiraled after everything that happened and did some stupid things. But I moved back home, started working on myself, and I'm doing a lot better. I realized I should avoid relationships for a while, and that's been good for me to focus on myself. I've come to understand a lot about my identity, my sexuality, and what I want in life. I realized I had to be kind of messed up to put up with everything I went through. I'm planning to maybe go back to school this year to finish my degree. I asked some old mutual friends since Joe and Natalie aren't on social media. Apparently, they're doing well, they got married, moved back to Ireland, and Natalie has a nice, fancy job now at Joe's family's company. He's doing something like teaching horse riding or archery or whatever, and they bought a house. So, he's still slacking and relying on her success, just like when he coasted off her skills in music. For some reason, she's okay with it. One of our friends made a joke about him being a trophy husband, which is laughable when she should be the trophy, but whatever. That's life, I guess. Sometimes crappy people get happy endings. Up in the comments. They're not even making music anymore, well, except for fun. Turns out they were pretty much using it as an excuse to be in each other's lives, and now that they're married, they don't need the excuses. I'm mad all over again just thinking about them, so never mind. Editor's note. There is supposedly a deleted account that belonged to Natalie that replied in the comments of the last update, but it's unclear whether it was actually her. Op mentioned that some of the details were correct, which is also strange, but not all of them. This was the comment, "This is Natalie." My friend sent me a link to this post, and I made an account just to feed the trolls and kill some boredom. I'm not going to share all the details of my life with the world here, she's already done a good job of that. But reading this all over again has me fired up. You have a very unreliable narrator on your hands. Joe isn't slacking or coasting off my success, and he never did. I'm not sure why she keeps saying that. He put as much effort and talent into our music as I did, not to mention being my inspiration and constant support. We still make music for fun. It's not like he forced me into some nepo baby office job. I've explored my hobbies, I found what I'm good at, and I found what I like. I really enjoy my job at the company, and it puts my skills to good use. Joe is not slacking. This is the same mentality she used to have, that unless someone is wearing a tie and going to meetings all day, it's not a real job, says the barista. I don't care that she's a barista, just an ironic note. I love seeing him happy and working outdoors like he always wanted. I love being a boss beach. There's been lots of confusion about my childhood. My parents died in an accident when I was 17, nearly 18. Yes, I have other family, but I'm not as close to them. I chose to stay with my true support system after that, and they've always been there for me. I made attempts throughout their relationship to be friends with her. I tried to reach out after everything, even after the group chat, the posts, etc., to see how she was doing, if she wanted to talk, and I even offered to answer any questions. Joe agreed to. She basically screamed threats at me, so I decided, never mind. We're child-free. There are lots of weird comments wishing regret, misery, and 3 kids on me along with heaps of drama. I'm not a dramatic person, that's why I didn't rush to defend myself earlier or stir things up by sharing everything Op has said and done. All I wanted is what I have now, living near my, Joe's, family again with happy pets and a happy husband. Frankly, it's no one's business, but reading some comments here made me defensive about the man I love. Our wedding was perfect. It wasn't really eloping like she says. We went home and had a quiet wedding with about 20 people near a lake in Ireland we spent time at together as kids. It was perfect and beautiful and everything I wanted. Cheers.